I will say that. If it's Chad Bianco versus Kamala, I think we talked about this. I think he's the one person who could really he has no filter, and that's a good thing. He's very honest, and he doesn't filter himself. He's not a politician. He's been in law enforcement. It'll make for a very interesting race. I think she's a weakened candidate because of how lackluster she did in the presidential race. I don't think she inspires as much hope as people think. I think when she didn't do well when they were propping her up for 2 months, and like the national media was basically propping her up and rolling out the red carpet for her and doing everything they could to help. It will be completely different here in California when she has to run like an entire race. Not like, oh, here's your choice. Here's your presidential candidate for 2 months. You better like her. Like, she's going to have to run a full governor's race. And if you thought that one clip we had at the beginning of the episode was bad, there will be like 100 by the time her race is over. Now, does it mean she won't win? I would say she probably still has the edge to win. Chad Bianco might perform the best of any Republican candidate in a long time in that case. And down ballot, you might see a lot more offices and politicians go red, and a lot of political seats go red with Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket. So that's my answer, is that I think she'll still win. I think it'll be the closest election we've seen in a long time. And again, it's all that progress to purple every election cycle, if we can just inch a little bit farther and farther. So what do you think?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, if that video that we had at the intro is kind of her segue into her California comeback, it's off to a complete disaster. I'm always questioning, will California elect a Republican governor? That is kind of the big question. But as we've seen, slowly but surely, every election cycle, well, not every, but recently, the election cycles, we're seeing a little bit more turn to the right, a little bit more red. And Brian Dawley, who was the governor, the Republican governor pick of 2022, he received the highest percentage of votes for a Republican governor in a really, really long time. And so if that shows how the tides are turning, then certainly if Chad Bianco is the top choice for Republicans, we definitely have a shot there. As I mentioned, California did vote for her for vice president, but I feel like even then, I think it was people voted out of like they hate Trump. They didn't vote because they loved Kamala. There was a few. There's always going to be the few, but I think it was the majority were like, I hate Trump, therefore I'm voting for Kamala. But when it comes to California, is it going to be an I hate Bianco? Now Bianco is very pro-Trump, and people have brought that up to me when I've shared, we had him on here before and I shared the video on Instagram and stuff. And I did get responses of, no, not him. He's pro-Trump. He's too Trump. But we'll see how that factors, because we've actually talked about before in previous election cycles where we were like, no, with being pro-Trump it's not the way to go in California because it's just such a different beast. It's not going to work the same as it will in other places. But now Trump, came out the big winner, and all of a sudden being pro-Trump is a pro, it's a positive. And so we'll see if him being such, and he has common sense. He does, like you said, he has no filter. He's very common sense. We talked about the fact that he understands. He's seen firsthand what needs to be reformed in California. He has a lot of understanding of that. Does Kamala Harris really have an understanding of anything at all? And I'm not picking on her for being a Democrat. I'm picking on her because, like I said, she just doesn't come across as bright. She doesn't come across as knowing anything. And I don't know why Alex Mickelson was interviewing her for that. I understand that, yes, she was the vice president, but I didn't understand politically who was she in that moment of the fires? Because I don't know, what relation did she have to all this, And so that was kind of confusing. So that did seem like that was her trying to kind of segue back into California politics. And if that was her trying to segue back into California politics, that was not a good look.
No. Yeah, I think, she isn't officially nominated. Yeah, she hasn't put her hat in the ring yet, so we
Right.
don't know what she. I think it's just because she's an influential person, and there's a big, and she's the Emerson poll came out that showed her as the overwhelming favorite. Although I looked at the numbers, there's only like 469 people who voted in this poll, so it's not like a
Okay.
huge poll. It's not like they polled like thousands of people and they were like, "Oh, Kamala is the pick." It was like 469 people. So yeah, it will be an interesting race. I think it'll probably get a ton of attention if it's Kamala Harris versus Chad Bianco, and I think that's good if we get a ton of attention here in California, and it's Chad Bianco versus Kamala Harris because of that fact that he is so honest and no filter. He will bring a lot of attention to what's going on here on the ground in California, and it might just horrify the rest of the country to what is actually happening here. I know people know kind of what's going on here, but I don't think they know the depth of like what's going on here.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
you have, well, real quick on this. At the announcement party, you recorded his whole speech, which wasn't that long. Everything he said was common sense. I didn't hear
Mm-hmm.
anything extreme from him. It was
Yeah,
just like, these are the
he's a
broken
big
parts. These are,
he's a big kitchen table politics guy, public safety, economy that works, stuff like